Life is not about creating yourself. No, life is not about finding yourself. It's about creating yourself. Guys, welcome to the Bird Brain Podcast with the goals to rise above it all, stay elevated, create that infinity, and up your you. Today, we are hitting the reset button on our experiences, on our emotions, on our thoughts. Finding opportunities to hit the reset button in the middle of a moment or what you're feeling is so vital and so necessary. And reset just means rest, evaluation, sitting still, emotional awareness, taking your time and or taking action. So I was forced to reset in a lot of ways, but more than anything, just giving me the opportunity to think about what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, what has happened, and what happens next. You know, when you allow yourself to reset, it just gives you opportunity to process what it is that's happening to you versus you running on that to get to the next thing. You know, sometimes we bring an experience into just our daily life without even processing or acknowledging what's taking place and what's happening. And that just runs us, you know what I'm saying? That runs us and it influences our work, our capacity to just think. Rest. Physically or mentally, give yourself the opportunity to rest. Rest sometimes just means breathing, you know, breathing through whatever it is that's happening and being aware of it. Evaluation, looking at the situation or your experiences from like a blueprint. You know, if you lay it all out, what facts and data do you have that has brought you to where you are in this moment? When it comes to a relationship or experiences, the importance of evaluating is you recognizing your responsibility in the situation, right? Also, too, you being aware of patterns, you know, in yourself and them. Just evaluating what's taking place, like objectively looking at it, like, hey, what's going on? What's happening? What am I feeling? When you find your best to look at something objectively, it doesn't necessarily put things into a good or bad category. It's just looking at what works and what does not. Even if your feelings are involved, but without necessarily villainizing the person and making yourself a hero. Sitting still. I like to energetically sit still, and I also like to mentally sit still a lot of times. And what that means is that I don't necessarily respond to something right away. I don't have a knee-jerk response to a lot of things. I take my time, you know, because when you sit still and you force yourself to sit still, you're not running on fight or flight. As there are some people who are like, yeah, we need to handle this now, and then you run the risk of saying something in the moment that you don't mean, and that one moment affects the entire relationship if it's worth salvaging. Emotional awareness. You know, being aware of what you are feeling and why. You know, am I nervous? Am I angry? Am I sad? Am I happy? Am I afraid? We talk to ourselves a lot. A lot of times it's not very kind, you know, but to actively talk to yourself as if you were talking to a friend and or a little kid. You ever see a little kid like crying and they're screaming their eyes out and you think they got hurt, but in reality their crayon got broken or they can't find their favorite teddy bear? There's so much going on past the initial emotion, and when you give yourself time to process what's happening and you become aware of your emotions, you're able to step into situations a little bit more tactful, you know, not as aggressive, not fight or flight. You understand why you are making the choices that you're making. You know, ask yourself, what's wrong? You know, why do you feel this way? What happened? Last thing is taking your time and or taking action. It's so important to take your time because you can't function properly for anybody else if you're not taking the time that you need for yourself. Life will either force you to take your time or you will take your time. But either way, when you take your time, it's you just slowing down. You giving yourself the permission to feel, to see, to process, to not do anything. And then you take action, whether it's having a conversation or whether it's moving forward or whether it's, you know, moving into a new idea or a new venture. When you take your time, you've thought things through. You know, when you take your time, you've had the process of regulating your emotions and being aware of what your emotional process looks like. When you take your time, it's you literally being kind to yourself and giving yourself the space to move around in a room. Reset. hit that reset button. You cannot change a situation, but you can still change how you look at it. You can still change how it affects you. You can still change how you move forward. Reset is not about forgetting what's happening. Reset is not about ignoring what's happening. Reset is about taking the time to process what's going on in you and around you. You'll be a lot better, but you'll also be clear of a lot more situations outside of you too, because you're taking the time for yourself. Find one way to reset yourself and just really do one of those things on that list if you can, or maybe all of them. Give yourself the grace that you need to move forward, because the more time you take for yourself, the better off you'll be for yourself and other people. Hope you guys have an amazing week, and just always be aware of the people that are just taking time for you and taking care of you, because that's a big deal. Take flight.